the Word of God is something that's always existed, you know what I mean? God's always existed, and everything about God's always the same, always been the same, and always will be the same. And the Word of God is basically God's laws and how God, feels about things, you know what I mean? How God sees things, and the laws, and the rules, all these things, all kinds of knowledge. But basically, I'm going to go back in time. All the prophets, I'm going to ignore a lot of them, but I'm just going to, go to the ones that like to fight each other. The Prophet Muhammad, he could speak to the divine name, He read from the Word of God. He actually read from the Word of God, so that he was able to learn how to speak our God's true name, and he spoke it. Got a message back, Jesus did the same thing. Same education from the Word of God. It existed, And Jesus, he came in a time when there was knowledge from many prophets, and of course the Torah, and also many writings, because people like to write about things they think about, and many people think about God, so there were many writings about God at the time of Jesus, many teachings about God, and many of these prophets, they passed down knowledge that was taught during the time of Jesus, And what did Jesus do? He showed up, told all the religious leaders, they were full of shit. And he wrote one time, when he was saving a woman's life. He wrote on the ground with his finger, and then he wiped it away. But basically, these people, they had to murder this woman because it was their civic duty, and they had to pick up a stone and crush her skull with the stone, And Jesus explained to these people, to his students, he's like, hey, you think you're killing this woman out of civic duty, because of your civic duty, but you're not protecting the life of anybody, you're not protecting the life of yourself or the life of anybody. So by taking her life, you're not killing her, you're murdering her. And since your soul's growing, you're going to grow as a murderer. Everybody got scared, walked away, because they thought they were just going to kill this woman, But the truth of the matter was they were going to murder this woman. And Jesus told them that, And Jesus didn't write nothing down. And all the other prophets, all the way back to Adam, Well, let's go one prophet past Adam, because, the story gets a little iffy. But all the prophets, they gain the instinctive education this planet offers, the Word of God, in the Word of God. Because this planet, everything our designer created, they put conscious understandings in everything they created, And when we use our brains, they also created. We can take the conscious understandings from the stone and everything else God created, Put them in our meat mind and strengthen our mind, be able to think better and be able to answer more questions, Because this stone, every single prophet read from stone. Every single prophet read from stone. They read from fire, water, plant life, animal life, the self, heat, cold, everything, light. Every prophet read from all of God's creation. All of the conscious understandings that God put in all of their creation, every prophet, read from these things. And the way it works is the Word of God existed before us humans existed. At a time when things like this stone existed, the Word of God existed then, and still today. So the simple fact of the matter is that within the stone is the Word of God. You know what I mean? It may not make sense to you because there's no human words written on it or nothing like that, but there's conscious understandings contained within the stone. And I don't care who you are or what time frame you're born in. You get a stone, you observe it, you throw it, you break it, You spend time learning stuff about it, It'll teach you the same things that it always teaches. The stone always teaches the same understandings, about this reality, and how they affect our life also. And it also teaches the same little bit about who our God is. And that's basically information you need to correctly speak our God's name correctly, because they existed before human words, so their language would be consciousness. That's what they wrote with, and it's the language you use to speak their name. And you basically got to say their name right, or they won't respond, They'll hear you, but they won't respond thing. And the thing is, you have to have the complete conscious thought of who they are correct. And if you miss one little one little bit of knowledge, on who they are, and you speak their name without that little bit of knowledge of who they are, you'll say their name the wrong way, and you won't get a response. But it's an instinctive path in life that's been hidden because it's instinctive, and it's basically like every single form of conscious life on this planet can speak our God's name correctly. And just think of it like if you have an animal, a cat, think of how the cat can speak our God's name. Because it can. It's an instinctive path that applies to all forms of life, Some people like to think of us humans being super duper smart and be able to think of super duper complex thoughts and share these complex thoughts makes us smarter, But it kind of makes us stupider at the same time. And it separates us from God, Just think of an animal. Animal can only communicate about 20 words. Cat, 20 words, And it's just the way they move and the sounds they make, Voice tone, body language, things like that, But it can't communicate what it knows. A cat can't communicate what it knows. So when a cat learns things from what our God created, and puts those conscious understandings in its mind, it just knows them. It just knows things, The animals on this planet, they just know things because they can't share what they know. You know what I mean? That makes them smarter than us because they come to know God. They're able to speak our God's name correctly, get a response. But anyways, all paths lead to God, and whatever book you follow the instinctive science of the path that led to God, And just realize, like, people like Jesus showed up, and Jesus wrote stuff down, and wiped it away, And he started a conversation, he got people to think. And he taught in parables. Parables are observations found in nature, used to, teach things about ourselves, this reality or whatnot, And observations found in nature contain the Word of God, This is the stone, like the story about when they're like, hey Jesus, when's the way this world is going to come to an end and things going to get way better and stuff. And Jesus was like, when a fig tree, leaves get tender, or the twigs get tender and leaves start coming out, and then the summer's almost here because the way the tree's reacting, the way the tree's acting, the summer's about to be here, whatever. And Jesus was like, it's just like that, when this world gets hella jacked up. Someone will explain how shit works, And I think it's just a trauma response, Like I wouldn't have searched for the knowledge that I searched for if this world wasn't so jacked up, and if I wouldn't have gone schizophrenic in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, working at JT at the Gitmo place, doing security bullshit, and I wouldn't have, lived the life I've lived. I wouldn't have searched for the knowledge I searched for if this world wasn't jacked up. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like Jesus is like, when the world gets jacked up, someone will search out for how to figure shit out, That's about it. It's basically the hidden path to God exists. It still exists today. The Word of God still exists today, Just think like this. The angel that told Muhammad to read, the last prophet in the Abrahamic religions, Muhammad could read his whole life, and he did read his whole life, because when he saw stuff like the stone, when he saw things like stones, he would read from them. That's what the angel was talking about, because angels don't lie. And the angel told Muhammad to read, so the angel knew that Muhammad could read, And the thing is, when Muhammad would search for God everywhere, because that's what he did, this life he led, search for God everywhere. When you've seen things like this stone, when you've seen the stone, what do you think he did? You think he searched for God in the stone? Of course, God's everywhere, everywhere. God's presence is everywhere, so God's presence is in the stone. God designed the stone. Everything I learned from this stone is the Word of God. It's going to strengthen my mind, draw me closer to God, and help me on my path to saying God's true name. And once I get there, I can maintain it, Hopefully until I die. Hopefully. That's the main goal, Because you can always stray from the path. That's the thing, So I keep reading. I keep reading the Word of God. It's the Word of God to me. But hey, I understand things that make sense in my brain, I rely on things like logic and understanding within my mind. Because I understand that every single prophet that has ever existed, when they spoke about God, they understood every single word that came out of their mouth. So if I read an old message from a book that came from a prophet's mouth and I don't understand it, Perhaps the definition of some words changed because the Word of God is something that logically makes sense within the mind, you know? And that's the truth. That's the truth. Anyways, I said a prayer, right? You know, because I can speak God's name now, you know? It took me 42 years to be able to do it. Long life path to be able to do it. But anyways, I can do it now, you know? This is a prayer I said, so I'm just going to share it. The Word of God. I spoke God's name, asked for some advice, got a single word back. Of course, it was an entire conscious thought that grew within my mind to the words that I'm going to speak. But anyways, this is what it is. It's a prayer for advice on how to teach the science of the hidden path to God. That was my prayer, you know? That's what I prayed for. This is what I got back. It was a conscious thought I got back in my mind, and I translated it into the words that it grew into within my mind, you know? It's like a single word, but it was a conscious thought that grew with my mind to all this. I'm going to share it. Keep speaking and loving the truth. Only lie when it's due to ignorance. Unanswerable questions exist. There is beauty in all the artist creates. Our God's an artist. They created this. And they actually put understandings within it too. Conscious understandings. They wrote conscious understandings within it. Because that's their language, that's how they write. In their language of consciousness. You know? In any case, the hidden path to God still exists. The instinctive education this planet offers about everything to include God still exists, you know? Follow the instinctive science of whatever book you follow, whatever map to God you got, whatever book you use as a map to God, you know? Follow the instinctive science in it. Take everything you understand from that book, keep it, you know? And follow the science of the path. Follow the science of the path. Realize that every single prophet that could speak the divine name, you know, they went in the wilderness on their search for God. They didn't go into a building, you know. They searched for God everywhere. They read from everything God created. Everything God created, they treated as a book that contained God's actual words, God's actual message, you know. And just think of it like this: every single word out of a prophet's mouth about God, you know, or to do with the subject of religion, spirituality, you know. It's kind of like it's a message from the Word of God, you know, because it's kind of like it's not the actual books are not the actual Word of God. They're a message from God, yes. Message from God, yes. But messages, when stored in human writings, become warped over time, so books cannot be the Word of God, you know. And the simple fact is, everybody that reads a book knows that the Word of God existed before that book existed, you know, and that's the truth. So anyways, follow the science of the path. I hope you finish it, whatever you may believe. Because hey, if you can speak the divine name, whatever language you speak, or whatever culture you have, or, you know, whatever time frame you live in, you get the advice you need. You get the same message that everybody gets. You should get the advice that you need for your life, however you're living it, you know? That's what this world needs. Anyways, my work is done, I think. I've explained how religion works. Been working obsessively for a long time on it, and I've finally figured it out. And it worked for me, you know? So, if it could work for more people, that'd be good enough for me. If I could teach one person, just one person, to speak the divine name, you know, before I die, and I know it works, you know what I mean? I'll die a happy man, because I know that'll spread like cancer, and everybody will be able to speak the divine name, you know? Everybody will be able to finish the instinctive path that leads to God, and learn the instinctive, you know, education that everything God created on this planet offers, you know, about all kinds of things, to include speaking God's name correctly, you know. In any case, you know, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I like to pray now. No set schedule, I just pray when it's time to pray, you know. And I know when it's time to pray because I'm like, oh, it's time to pray. That's how I do it, you know. I put my faith in God, and that's it. I don't put my faith in human words, books with human words, but books, these kind of books, you know, this is a book to me. It's a book to me. and it contains, some of the purest forms of knowledge on this planet. Books like this contain the purest forms of knowledge that exist. They always teach the same truths to every single human that will ever read them, you know what I mean? To me, that's the Word of God. It meets all the requirements in any case, But yeah, I think my work's done and my class is good, I think my class is good now. What to do now? I don't know what to do now that I'm done with doing the class thing, Figure I just keep living my life, Keep growing my soul, living my life, maintaining my mind, because I got to do that because I got schizophrenia, But it's cool. I accept it, so it's fine by me. Oh, I know you're not supposed to, a lot of religious people, they're like, oh, they're going to have to be from this line of people or this line of people or this line of people. And the truth of the matter is those people that lived 2, 3, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago, by this time they have millions of descendants, if not billions of descendants, Every single human alive from that time frame, not just those specific people. But I'm just gonna throw this out there, I got a bunch of different races in me. But I got some Azores in me, some Azores. And that's got some Jewish people, some Moorish people, even some of those ocean people that called their ocean the home, And Portuguese too, of course, But I got those genetics too, just like millions and if not billions of other people also have the same genetics, Not a big deal. But anyways, that's it. I hope you can finish the path to God on wherever you are and whatever language you speak and whatever you believe in, Whatever your word for God is. Even if your word for God is non-existence, I hope you can finish your path to the truth in that case, because God will be there, and you speak that divine name, you get a response. I've explained how it works, It's an instinctive path that's always existed. The word of God, the education that every single prophet got, still exists. And they never get it from a book written by a human. They got it from books written by our God. And that's how they learned how to speak the divine name and get a response, Same message, different advice, In any case, if this works, if my plan works, and my research is good, and my science is good, then this planet's going to heal itself and resort back to Adam and Eve times when everybody was on the path to God and speaking the divine name. It wasn't a big deal because everybody could do it, That's what the world's coming to if my science works. In any case, I know I'm not done, but I feel like I'm done. So I'm just going to end this video. I'm going to upload these videos and share the knowledge that I've acquired during my lifetime. Oh, and also, like these books, These books, it's like my thing. I like to write books, So if you want to buy some books, they're on Amazon. You can buy them. I'd appreciate it because I like money. And if you don't want to spend money on these books, just wait. And when the time comes, I'm gonna read them and I'm gonna post them on this YouTube thing, But that's for another day. I don't know when, but it's in my brain and I'm gonna do it eventually, In any case, that's it for now.